Hi, Celia. Nice to see you.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you too.
Nice to see you too. So I'm Steve Small, and I look after the IDD Therapy Disc Clinic Network, and quite a few of the clinics in the network, different practitioners work with Celia at Painless Practice, and I thought it'd be quite nice to have a chat with Celia to kind of get a bit of a lowdown, because I've seen the sort of transformational work that you've done with some of these clinics, and just sort of like get a little bit insight about how practitioners can get, expand their practices and get benefits from coaching. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
That's very good. So perhaps I'll get a few quick fire questions, Celia, if I may. So what made you become a coach?
Oh gosh. So when
was that a hard one to start with?
Yeah, so long ago now. When I was in South Africa, when I had my businesses in South Africa, I used to really love helping my employees kind of go up the career path, and I loved doing the strategy part of the business. And then there were certain elements of the business that I really couldn't be too bothered about. So when I was moving over, my HR director at the time said to me, "Oh, what are you going to do when you go over?" And I said, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but the options are either buying a coffee shop, or I'll probably start a business of some sort, but I want to do something where I can help people build their businesses and that kind of thing. And she said, "Oh, you want to be a business coach?" And I was like, "What on earth is a business coach?" Anyway, and then I went into training and came over here. The recession hit, so I decided coffee shop wasn't such a great idea, and went for the coaching route and haven't looked back. Met James Butler very soon after I came here, and he had started practice. Went into partnership with him, and since have taken over the business 4 years ago, when he decided he was going to retire, and the rest is history.
I mean, it certainly is, and I've seen Painless Practice. Whenever I travel around and hear people talking about coaches, then your name is always up there because of the value you bring. So kind of what makes your phone ring? Why do practitioners come to you now?
Several reasons. So often our phone rings because practitioners aren't busy enough, so they want to get more patients through the door. Sometimes our phone rings because they're too busy and they need to bring teams on board, and they don't really kind of know how to do that. Phone does also ring because people want to exit their business. Sometimes our phone rings because they're just so stressed out, and they're kind of running from pillar to post, and they're just kind of feeling like what they went into their own business for. So they might have gone into their business because they wanted flexibility, they wanted autonomy, they wanted to earn more money, and none of the above is actually happening. So they seem to be, run off their feet. They get all these other practitioners in. Sometimes their associates are earning more than they are, and they're working these long hours, and they want to kind of restore that balance. So those are the kind of key areas, and also and help with managing team members as well, and setting up their practice even. So we've actually kind of recently, I've had a flurry of people that have wanted to leave the NHS and set up their own practices. So they've come to us to help them build their private practice.
It seems like with a lot of practitioners so passionate about treating patients, and then at a certain point, the business side becomes this part that they didn't really sign up for, but actually they realize that actually I need to make an income. Fine, that's step one, and then actually there's a future ahead, and retirement which seems so far away, and it's like I wish I'd known about some. We all learn the lessons. I've got my own clinic, and there's painful lessons along the way, and pain usually equates to money out the door in costly mistakes. But that's interesting. I mean, are a lot of practitioners, are they overwhelmed in their clinics and not sure where to turn? Is that a lack of understanding of the realities of a clinic as a business?
Yeah, I think there's a great book called The E-Myth Revisited, and it talks about how the myth is that every single business owner is an entrepreneur. That's not necessarily true. What usually happens is you become a great technician, so you become a great physio, osteo, speech and language therapist, and then you think, right, I'm going to open a business. But business training, or very little business training in the time that you've studied to be the person that you've learned, there's not that training going on, and that's not exclusive to the therapy industry. I mean, if people want to become a plumber or a hairdresser or a solicitor, you don't get business training in that. You're there to learn the skill, so you do need to go outside to get appropriate training, because there's a massive skill in running a business. And I know that there are a lot of practitioners out there that have grown organically and their businesses are successful, and they haven't had to kind of do the business training. But I do also know that there are a lot of businesses that are really struggling, that haven't, that need to invest in that training and that learning and that really practice of the thing.
I mean, that's interesting what you say. So in some ways you can have a successful practice, and it's not necessarily by it's almost by accident. If you've got a very good practitioner, then patients come, there's money coming in. But sometimes is it even a case of you might be successful, but actually if you sorted out some of your processes and systems and a plan and brand, etc., you could be a lot more successful without you necessarily having to do more work. Is that something that you see? Is there a lot more that people get out of their practices that they're just not doing because they're so busy with the hands-on with the patients?
I think a lot of people that come to us already have fairly successful practices. So it's not only getting the people that are down and out and haven't got enough clients, and we're getting that have got loads of clients and they're kind of overwhelmed by the size that their practice has become, and then they're thinking, oh my gosh, actually now this has become an unwieldy kind of beast, and I need to kind of rein it in and get some control. And that's where they'll come to us and kind of say, help.
That kind of, as I've had my own clinic, and which is a small clinic, and my main thing is obviously the IDD. But as things get bigger, there's suddenly there's more plates spinning, and if you're not sure how to organise, systemize, deal with the HR side of things, even then it's quickly overwhelming, isn't it? But that's so. I mean, those are the sorts of main challenges that you see. Then that people get to a certain point, and then it's just getting too much, and you can't see the wood for the trees, sort of thing.
Yeah. So people come to us for that. One of the other kind of challenges that we see is a feast and famine cycle. So most haven't gone into business because they want to be marketeers. So marketing is a kind of thing that they don't really like doing. They don't like marketing. They don't like managing the finances. And so, we kind of have this feast and famine cycle where sometimes, you do some marketing and you get a whole lot of new patients in, then they go away, and then suddenly you've got to go back to this awful marketing that you really don't enjoy doing. So, we help getting a marketing plan in place that you can kind of have a more consistent flow of patients coming through the door. The other area that we find is quite a challenge in this sector at the moment is recruitment. So it's really finding physios, osteos, chiros, they kind of really, and speech and language therapists as well. And just there's a shortage of really good ones to be able to bring into your practice. So, and so we help our clients navigate that. But also when you've got the team members on board, most practitioners haven't had any management and leadership training. So they're not sure how to actually manage their team members. I mean, I know I've kind of spoken to a client of mine recently about a problem associate, and I said, well, what have you done so far, and what conversations have you had? And he's like, what, do I need to talk to my team? And I was like, yes.
Yes, that's and I guess there's some practice owners who actually dread going in, because if there's some friction, and actually if there's ways to handle the friction, and is that something that you can help them with in the whole structuring?
Yeah, a huge piece of what we do. It's we do a lot on setting objectives with your team members, setting key performance indicators, setting up how you have your one-to-ones, how regularly you have your one-to-ones, how you interview better, so that you get, you're able to really kind of ascertain, is this person in front of me, actually, is this person the right person for me? And really encourage our clients to hire for action and train for skill. So obviously the minimum skill set that you need, you're going to need to be qualified, and they need to have a certain skill set to match your patient journey. But there's no point in getting an amazing therapist that is amazing clinically, but they've got a rubbish attitude.
Yeah.
rather have the person that's got the amazing attitude, and you might need to do a little bit of clinical training to get them up.
Yeah.
You'll have a
Yeah.
relationship with that attitude. The
I
right.
mean, I suppose sometimes it's, there's, as you say, it's a challenge to get the good people, and in some situations there's beggars can't be choosers. But then I guess coming back to your kind of leadership and sort of setting the parameters of what's expected, and then actually a little bit of guidance along the way, or even bringing you or somebody else into to help them as a third party can actually it's not a cost really, because every patient who kind of says I'm fine and they go somewhere else is money out the door. And if that's happening once, it's happening far more times than people care to admit, probably. So it's a big payback, any kind of training and improvement that you can give. I mean, I've seen, you do kind of things for receptionists, for associates, the whole gambit. I mean, on the receptionist, sometimes a receptionist, people have no idea actually about how rude and bad the receptionist can be. And it's, it's like, you're just not aware because you're in the thing and they're all smiles, but who knows?
Yeah.
So I mean, in practical terms, or in the business side, what are the kind of important things that you look for? What are the important measures that any practice needs to get to grips with in order to, whatever their objective is in terms of the practice, but if it's to grow the practice or get it more efficient without them, what are the key measures that you look at to determine the well-being and future health of the business?
Okay, so I mean, the very first thing that I like to sit down with the clients and ascertain is how much do they need or want out of their own business. Because
is that like hard cash per month type thing?
Yeah. How much money do you need personally from your business to live the life that you want to live, or you need to cover your expenses now? But how much do you want? Because often what happens and not just in the therapy world, but in all small businesses, is that we might, get a whole lot of revenue coming in. We spend all the money on all the expenses that we need to spend going out, and then we take what's. And very often the part that's left doesn't meet what our needs or wants are. So to me, that's one of the starting points, is why would you bother having your own business if you're not remunerated properly for having that business? You should be able to get a fair wage for the work that you're doing for your business, not just seeing patients, but also running your business. And then you want your business to be profitable so that you can keep, so that it's a sustainable business in the community. You might be employing other people, looking at your own needs. So to me, that's like one of the first things that we need to look at. And then we're going to want to look at, when we know, so I talk about that as a bottom up budget. So you work out what you need, add on your tax, your expenses, and then you know what the revenue needs to be. And then you start saying, well, if we need to earn £10,000 a month in revenue, we need £2,500 a week. We need 500 a day, and we need to have 10 patients paying us £50. How many patients do we need coming through the door to make that? We want to measure retention rates. Like you were saying, it doesn't help doing all this marketing and you get and then we're not holding on to them. They're not having as much treatment as they ethically require or clinically require. Making sure that our patient retention rates are really good. So we want to measure the patients as an average. And we want to be measuring what our saturation rate is. So we want to know how busy are we. So so we need to increase our marketing to get more patients through the door, or another therapist on board, because and that's why we can't see as many patients as we need. I think
as you described that, and I was thinking of like some of the clinics who I know work with you and the work that you do with them on that, because it can seem like, oh gosh, it's that sort of work can prompts people to get indigestion thinking about, oh my gosh, and unfortunately it's that bitter pill that you've got to take, like your patient, I guess, who's got to do their exercises, but when you do that you'll get better. But if you actually think, do you think a lot of people don't think about their that 5-year thing and what they actually need, and therefore because they don't think about it. Therefore, they're not focused on actually what do we need to do this week, this month, in order to keep us on track.
Yeah, I think there's a real danger of just kind of keep going from day to day, week to week, month to month, and not thinking about what your long-term objectives are, so that you're making the right short-term decisions. So that's a big part of what we sit with our clients and do, is work out, well, we want to know what the very long-term objectives are. So when do you want to retire, and how much do you need when you retire? Then we want to, okay, so what does that mean for the next 3 to 5 years? Where does the practice development need to, where does the practice need to go in those years, 3 to 5 years? And then we bring it right down to the next year, and we say, right, so if that's what we want to be true, what are we going to focus on in this year to come? And we literally set 3 to 4 objectives to focus on for a year, and then we break it down into quarters and into key activities, weekly, monthly.
Gotcha. So you end up with a bit of a roadmap. Yeah. I think, I mean, I would say, so in terms of coaching, a lot of people, they like doing the planning stuff, and it's all pretty, and you're just like, oh yeah, what's my vision board, and it's nice, and it's good, and it's important, and then I guess a key thing with a coach, and people sometimes think, oh, I'm not, coach. All the top people have coaches, obviously, and it's that kind of accountability, and it's not necessarily always reinventing the wheel. It's like a little nudge along the way to keep you on track, because it's quite easy just to go, oh, you know what, I'm not doing it today. A little bit like the patient again. I'll do my exercises tomorrow, but then that stops you getting there. I mean, when people work with you, Celia, so in terms of painless practice, so you kind of got the clinic who is at A and wants to get to B, and then you kind of got the clinic which is big, and it's like, oh, and it's now a beast and overwhelming, and you need help with that. I mean, what's the common way that, if somebody's not had a coach or is looking for a different coach, what's the best way for them to kind of, the different options, aren't there, in terms of how they can work with somebody?
Yeah, we've got loads of different options. So we've got the kind of really, dip in and out as much as you like, as little as you like, in terms of, like, we've got Friday focused seminars now. So they an hour seminar on various different topics. You can just book on and come along to. And then
so that's so they can kind of get a bit of a flavor of the sorts of things that you do on that.
They can kind of get and just get a flavor for, do you want to work with me?
Yeah.
Am I the right person, or do we, would we have the right chemistry to be able to work together? So we've got those that happen every second Friday now. And we have one-to-one telephone coaching. But I'd say the most common entry point for my clients is that they would come in and do a half-day strategy session with me, so that we work where do you want to go long term, where do you need to be in the next 3 to 5 years, and what are your kind of objectives. And we set a one-page plan for a year where we've outlined what your purpose is, what your values are, what your vision of your business is, your objectives, what the key results are going to be of those objectives, and therefore what activities do you need to take. So generally speaking, I'd say most people start with that. So they invest half a day with me, and then they might go on to a monthly or twice monthly coaching for me to keep them accountable, for us to work out any obstacles that come along, so they might start doing something and then get stuck and need my help with that. So I'd say a lot of clients do that. My clinics that I work with are usually, where there's multi-practitioners, I would go into their practice. Obviously now with COVID, that's not happening, and it's all on Zoom. But with them, I'd usually see them for half a day a month, where they almost use me as a sounding board, but also almost like a non-executive director in their business. So I'm helping them and kind of mold their direction.
I think it is interesting. So I work with clinics who use the IDD, and I get to see different practices, not as many practices as you, because lots of clinics have worked with you, but so many practitioners are in a little goldfish bowl, aren't they? And they're in their own head. Maybe somebody, and if they're the owner, they can't really talk to the associates about some of the challenges that they might be thinking about. There's obviously lots of inputs and groups here and there, and it's noise. So, sometimes there's too much noise, and that opportunity to talk to somebody and get a bit of clarity and almost like filter and move away the kind of the noise to get focused is it's quite calming and a big sort of relief that there's somebody. And I guess you work with clinics of all shapes and sizes, so there's not many mistakes that people are making for the first time that you haven't seen somebody deal with in another practice.
Yeah.
And have you seen, so people like to, if you get a coach, you've seen some, I mean, I know some of the transformations of some of the clinics who work with you, but in terms of some big changes in practices, you've got some don't mean to put you on the spot too much, but some standouts in your mind without naming names of practices and what they've gone from A to B.
Yeah, I mean, I've had clients where they've graduated and started with me almost straight away, and the transformation I think in the confidence has been really spectacular. When you kind of start out and you really just don't feel confident in anything, and to see the transformation where now you've got this 10-15 years later, you've got this confident business owner who like when he graduated, he had couldn't foresee that. He couldn't foresee the success, and he's now living that success. I've had that. I've had, in fact, my very first painless practice client, I worked with her from the time that I started working with her. She moved clinics several times. She expanded. She went from working as a physio in the business to actually just running the business. And we eventually got to the point where one of my other clients bought her practice. And so I saw the entire journey, and it was just so wonderful to see the development in the practice, and then her actually getting a sale price. It was not quite the time that she wanted to sell. She wanted to sell a few years earlier than she managed to, but we were already talking about that quite 5, 6, 7 years before she started practice. We had already started working out what that meant for her, and what she wanted to achieve with that, and it was and kind of getting to that point where she sold her practice. So that was really.
I mean, that as you talk about selling practices, and it's great to hear those success stories, because I think so my own clinic, and I'm very mindful that I want to sell it at some point, and the whole kind of exercise of thinking about your future. What does this practice look like when I want to sell it? So am I just closing the door and putting my patient files in a store for 7 years or whatever? That's not a great exit. But if you're actually doing the things to make your business such that someone else would want to buy it, the chances are in that process you've got a business which functions with the least amount of stress, with the greatest return, and great systems, because you've got that end in mind, I suppose, which makes you happier in the now rather than just at the end when it's like, oh, I'm done now what?
That kind of plan to stay, hope to sell. So nice. Do everything in your business that you would be proud of and want to, and you want to grow it and develop it, but hope to sell at the same time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I guess,
okay. So, sorry.
I was going to say the other kind of areas, the other ways that people access our support is we have Success Club groups, which currently meet for 2 hours once a month, and be like a kind of small group of practitioners that get together. And they've actually a lot of the Success Club members have developed really close bonds with the other members in the group, and are very supportive of each other. So that used to meet once a quarter in person, and now that's once a month, 2 hours. And I think post-COVID we'll probably continue with the online version, but probably integrate some kind of face-to-face stuff again. And then the Rolls-Royce kind of service that we've just recently launched is our Mastery program. And that's a 12-month program where you commit to 12 months and you have a strategy session once a month in a group. You have coaching once a month. We do book reviews. We interview experts. There's just, that's kind of like, if you want to really immerse yourself and really work on your business and give it real great focus for 12 months, that's the place to come and meet.
So. Yeah, that's kind of, Yeah, and I think probably, if you can tinker about, I suppose, and some people are just quite happy to do that, and that's fine, and you get a little bit. But actually, if you're on you're getting serious about it, then that's that allows you to immerse in the whole process.
Yeah, and it just kind of covers the bases of what you need to be considering for having a successful practice.
Fabulous.
And
sorry.
And enjoying it, because I think that's what kind of that really upsets me, I think, in this industry, is that you really love being a practitioner, and you've gone into running a business with the intention of helping more people, and often that love is just lost because the business side becomes so overwhelming. And it just doesn't have to be. Running the business can be painless.
Oh, I think I know business. Excellent. That's a nice aspiration, yeah, because I think you see some people, it's like literally the business is sucking the life out of them, which is a shame. So, okay, so the great question. So, painless practice and Celia Champion, appropriate name, obviously. What's the website? Where should people reach out to you, Celia?
Yeah, so I'm on virtually all the social media platforms. So you can find Painless Practice on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and you can find me personally on LinkedIn, and I am personally on Facebook as well, which I don't mind connecting with people on.
Okay.
And then our website is painlesspractice.com, as simple as that.
Very cool.
My email address is Celia, Celia, at painlesspractice.com.
Okay, so well, that is great. I think if anyone is thinking about if they're thinking they might need a coach, then they probably do need a coach, and it doesn't hurt to have a conversation and get some more information, and whether it's for the here and now or in a few months down the line, it allows you to think about it. So as I say, I know quite a few people who work with you and have worked with you for a long time and have seen the changes that they've enjoyed over the years. So great stuff. Thank you, Celia. That's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. So if anyone does want to have a chat about how Painless Practice can potentially help, book a call in with me, and we'll take it from there.
Fabulous. All right then, Celia. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.